Hey, in this video, I'm going to show you how to take an old cabinet and make it look as good as new. Next on My Younger Life. So we're going to take this cabinet that I have, and I'm going to show you that in a moment, and refinish it and refurbish this thing so it looks really good. I'm so excited. This thing is massively tall. It's going to barely fit under my ceiling, but it is in two pieces, so that'll make it easier to put together and easier to fit in there. But before we do that, and before you run out and hit those yard sales and flea markets, I need to give you some information about what to look for. This cabinet is a laminate cabinet. It's very cheap, cheaply made. Laminate is fairly common. It's what you find in a lot of bathrooms today, that it's a good shortcut, but they're very durable. Laminate is all synthetically made. It's like a particle board of some kind, and I'll show you that, what it looks like, but it'll separate. It has a laminate type coating on top of particle board. So it's very inexpensive. It's easy to clean. It's very durable. It's low maintenance. You don't have to redo it or anything with it, but the quality is not there. Also, there's no natural finish, and you have a very, very small window of what you can do with it when you redo it. You can't sand it. You can't redo those things, and when the laminate peels, you can't really even patch it very well. So, it has a short life, but it's what you pay for. And that's what this cabinet is, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I do want to hit on the other two things, so before you go out there, you'll know what to look for. Another one is similar. It's veneer. And veneer is when you have that same type of wood that's made to give it structure, and then it is coated with a very expensive wood piece. This is a veneer. These are exotic woods. I can't remember what it was. I think it's an ebony, but anyway, I got it to put on a guitar. A lot of guitars are veneered. And then here's another piece. This is like a curly maple, I think. And they're so thin. They're a little like piece of paper, and they're glued down. Veneers are a little higher quality, but they don't cost a whole lot more. So you're getting this beautiful wood that you can stain, that you can treat. It's very even. You're not going to get imperfections like you do with solid wood. It's lightweight. It refinishes well, but you can't do a lot of sanding. You'll go right through it. I've done that with a guitar. Go right through that veneer into the cheaper wood that's underneath. You don't want to do that. But you have a lot more variety. You can, anything that's wood, you can get it. So that's another one. And then the other one is solid wood. Solid wood furniture is very desirable. It's very expensive. It's very heavy. But it will last forever. And you can do complete refinishes easily. Just sand it down and start over. It's strong. It's durable. The only differences are the wood varieties. Pine is going to be a lot softer. Pine is going to damage more easily than oak or maple or walnut. So you have to think about that. It will warp, but you can sand it and go right back there. Same with veneer. It'll warp, and what you do is you steam it, and you steam iron it, and it'll straighten it back out, and you can glue it back down. But anyway, that's a really, really, really quick overview of woods. So we're going to get at this cabinet. So here we have a cabinet. Here's the way that I move things. If you don't have someone around to help you, put something like cardboard underneath it, you can slide it. And this is my garage. Please don't pay any attention to the mess. This is not a channel on how to organize, because, yeah, it wouldn't be for me. But this is how I move it. And here's the cabinet, the bottom third of it. Someone painted it cream, and we're going to fix that and change the color. We're going to remove the shelves because we need to get this thing prepped and ready to go. It's pretty easy. These just have little push pins that do your height adjustments, and you can see you have a lot of options there on how to put those shelves in. But we're going to remove that and remove all those pins so that we can get to cleaning this cabinet up. All right, and you can get a better look. Here's that cream color. There are screw holes. It was once attached to a corner. It looks like it was a bathroom cabinet because there are holes in the left side and the bottom and the top of this. And we're going to fix that. Here's these heavy duty hinges. I debated about removing them, but the screws look like they've been stripped in the past. So I decided just to paint around them. I am, however, going to remove the hardware. I don't like the hardware that's on this piece. It really doesn't match my kitchen and dining room area. So I'm going to pull those out and make a trip to the local hardware store with them in tow. That was the top one. Here is the top unit. This one is a lot taller. I had to be very careful and keep the center of gravity low so I didn't tip it over because the front's glass. I'm using an old tablecloth. Never throw these things away. They're very useful. And I'm going to use a Scotch-Brite pad, a scrub pad, because I want to fix the texture as I clean. I just have a little dishwashing liquid and water here. And it's going to take quite a bit of scrubbing. This piece where they someone spray painted it, they didn't go back over it with another paint, which you really should do. You can spray paint these things, but it shouldn't be your final texture. It's going to have rough spots, places where there were air bubbles. And so I'm just going to basically, as I'm cleaning, I'm going to scrub this pretty good. And you can see it's removing a little bit of paint. But I have more of these, so I'm going to put a little elbow grease in the rough spots and really try to get those smoothed out so that my texture will be nice and even. This takes a little bit of elbow grease, but with a little time, it'll look really nice. Laminate is durable. You can work on it pretty hard. Just the elbow grease. Now, I've worked on the whole thing. I've got a corner there I'm going to have to work on. Dusty's getting some sunshine. You can see where I've been sanding a little bit with that Scotch-Brite. I didn't use sandpaper. I'm not trying to remove the paint, just the rough areas. And now our glass unit that's on the top, we're going to remove that hardware. Don't throw this hardware out, though, guys, until you take it and get new. Take it with you. These handles come in different lengths, and you don't want to put a hole in this. Laminate doesn't drill holes very well. The top can flake or splinter. So we don't want to create new holes or create other problems for ourselves. So we're going to keep that. Then here's the two. I don't really think they match very well, even though they're off the same unit. But we're going to fix that. I'm not really sure what I'm going to get yet. And we're going to work the same here. This corner was really bad. It's like the two paints didn't jive. And that can happen. If you have layers of paint especially, I don't know that this had layers of paint, but that corner I really had to work on it. The prep work is important, guys. If you do not prep well, all the paint in the world won't fix spots that you didn't prep well. So I'm going to really put some elbow grease in this one section and try to get it really nice. I really want that. It looks like it's the bottom, but it's really not. This cabinet goes on top of the other piece. So that will be really visible. And here's the side. Even though I wasn't trying to remove the paint, pretty good deal did come off as I was trying to sand it down a little bit. And I'm going to tape off my glass. I don't always tape off. I like to actually usually avoid tape because I think sometimes it makes us a little sloppy and we rely on it too much. But I did want to show you how to really get these corners. You'll use your fingernail to really tuck it under the wood, and a box cutter will cut those corners off nice and neat. Really want a nice sharp corner. And then these curves are a little tricky. Don't be afraid to wrinkle up your tape though. Just keep that top edge in there, use your fingernail, push it up under as far as you can, and bend the tape as you go. It's really not that hard. One thing that's great is painting against glass is very forgiving. You can always go back with a razor blade and scrape off any mistakes you make or anything you get on the glass. So don't sweat it too much. There we go. I'm going to use my box cutter again to fix those corners. This veneer cabinet is quite heavy, but it's still not nearly as heavy as a solid wood cabinet would be. Since I don't know what paint was used, what kind of spray paint and stuff, I am going to be careful. But I am going to use some plastic wood. I have a choice here. I could use plaster, I could use caulk, I could use wood putty. I'm going to use the wood putty. Plaster would work, but I don't think it's going to stick as well in the surface, and caulk is not as easy to paint over. This is paintable wood putty, so I'm going to use it. A little goes a long way, but you do want to get it packed pretty good and get all that air out of the hole. This one I do get a little thick. It really isn't a bad deal if you get it really thick. It just requires a little more prep to get it off. You do want to get it all in there. Here's a way you can use, there's a sanding block. This is a really old one, it has a slider so you can tighten it up. But I don't think I'm going to need that. You could use a wooden block. I'm just going to use the sandpaper. I showed you a piece of 320. I'm really starting with 220 grit. So what does that mean? That means that 220 is a moderate grit. The lower the number, the coarser the sandpaper. We don't really need to go really coarse. Coarse sandpapers for heavily damaged, big holes, things like that. 220 is a good place to start when you're just removing wood putty. And then you'll go to the higher grit numbers as you work. So I'm going to use the 220, then I'm going to use the 320.